623 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well. 205-834-9450. The text line and the phone lines are always open as we react to the midweek trap games for both Auburn and Alabama, and they both passed the test as Auburn knocks off Vanderbilt on the road 80-68. And Alabama knocks off Texas 103-80. Both handling their business, setting up an exciting matchup at 3 o'clock on ESPN from Coleman Coliseum, the first edition of the Iron Bowl of basketball between Auburn and Alabama. Let's go to the phone lines, get some reaction here this morning. To our buddy John in T-Town wants to talk some ball with us this morning. What's going on, John?
Good morning, guys. My question is coming up on the Alabama-Auburn basketball game is the style of play. Alabama's an all-gas, no-break. They're their best when they're pushing, which is all the time. They don't care if it's a made basket, defensive stop. Auburn has the best shooting percentage when they are running in the nation, but they only run typically on defensive stops. You know, when they rebound, they like to slow it down a little bit. They have the better half-court offense than Alabama, and they have the better defense than Alabama. My question is, if you're the coach, you put yourself in Bruce Pearl's position or Nate Oates' position, you know, what do you change in this one? Or if you're Bruce Pearl, are you trying to run full-time with Alabama in this game? If you're Nate Oates, you know, how do you force Auburn into your game? And I'll hang up and listen. You guys have a great show.
Hey, we appreciate you, John. If I'm Bruce Pearl, I'm probably going to go a little bit smaller early on, because I do think the pace that Alabama plays at, as long as we can get up and down the floor, I'm not saying that, you know, you need to choke the clock offensively, but I do think defensive pressure, you don't want to leave Alabama wide open. Like, you're probably saying, all right, they're not going to hit at the same clip as they did against Texas last night, because it's basketball, kind of just the way the ball bounces at times. But also, you want to at least have contested. And also, to me, make other people beat you. Because I do think that with Grant Nelson and Janai Broome, they're probably going to bang it out. Do you still have Dylan Cardwell in the starting lineup? Because you know offensively he's kind of handcuffed a little bit, but you need him on the defensive side. But is he going to be in shape enough? Which I do think, almost 30 games in now, he should be good. But do you ask him to run up and down the floor, or do you make quick substitutions? To me, this is probably a game where you start Tahad Pettiford if he's ready. If you truly think that he's going to be an offensive weapon that you need him to be, is he going to be able to give it to you on both sides of the floor if he's in the starting lineup? Now, maybe you start a little bit smaller because of just the pace that Alabama does. And also for Alabama, I think it's just make your shots, because your style is exactly what you want it to be, because you get up and down the floor. You've got a lot of shooters out there. How early do we see Aiden Holloway get into the ball game, get into the mix, get into the groove going against his old team? But also, if you're Auburn, you kind of just play the game that you have been, maybe just be a little bit smaller to start things off, just to see and get a feel of it. That way, when if you get a big enough lead or something, you can start slowing it down. That's when you insert your big man and start to work it down on the post and work your way back out.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at this game, I think if you're Auburn, to a certain degree, like, you're perfectly fine with Alabama playing at the pace that they do. And a lot of that is because, I just think the turnovers are going to be such a big factor in this, because like John said, yeah, Auburn defensively is certainly better than Alabama has been. And with the pace that they play at, if Alabama's not getting a shot off really, really early in the first 6-7 seconds of a possession, I mean, based on what we've seen, there's a likelihood that you're going to be able to create a turnover, or you're going to get a bad pass somewhere, or somebody's going to get trapped in a corner, and you're going to force a bad shot, things like that. And I think if you're Auburn, I think you play into that, right? You just try to disrupt. You let Alabama maybe play at the pace that they like to, and you just try to disrupt them. And if you force them to hold the ball for 10 seconds, they're a completely different offense, right? And so I think if you're Bruce Pearl, I think that's kind of what you're focusing on. And yeah, I mean, if you're Alabama, it's all right, let's play at the pace we do. And if we don't turn the ball over and we hit our shots, well, we're probably going to win the basketball game, right? That's the way that it works. So you want to stick with what you're your identity is. But yeah, like you were saying, it will be interesting to see kind of, I guess, the chess match between Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates, and what the starting lineups look like. And, to your point, if you start smaller for Auburn, if you're Alabama, do you just roll out there with Nelson and Stevenson as I guess like your big guys there earlier
Mm-hmm.
on, and you have another somebody else that comes in and is a scoring threat? Are you going to see any of do you see any Mark Sears and Aiden Holloway on the court together, something like that? Just a smaller lineup where you just are hoping you're going to be able to get some guys some good looks at 3-pointers. So it's it's going to be very interesting to see how these two styles match up, because I think for the majority of the season, my kind of just the very surface level summary of the teams would be, okay, well, Auburn's been more consistent, right? And so you
Right.
feel like in these situations, if they're able to cause a little bit of disruption for Alabama, then they're going to be just fine. On the other hand, the way it's been for Alabama is if they're hitting their shots and they're not turning the ball over, they look like potentially they have the highest ceiling of any team in the
Mm-hmm.
country. We just haven't seen that consistently. So, do you take the consistency or do you take the potentially higher ceiling? And I think that's kind of where this matchup goes. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one thing that I think will be a big factor, the turnovers are. You can't have 17 turnovers if you're Alabama on Saturday. You're not going to win that basketball game.
Yeah. And I also think if you're Alabama defensively, make somebody else score. Like, put somebody else in a situation kind of like a Denver Jones last night. Prove to us that you're going to go out there and give Auburn 20 to 25. Because if I'm Alabama defensively, I'm doubling Janai Broome anytime he gets the ball inside of the 3-point line. I'm sending somebody else at him. I'm sending him different looks. I'm pretty much just denying all ball screens, because I think that the biggest thing about Janai Broome is he's not afraid to shoot the three, but if he's stretching out there, it's a lower percentage shot for him. Whereas opposed if he's on the block, not to say that Grant Nelson isn't physical enough to, bang with Janai, or if you throw a Cliff Amore at him, if you throw a Diabate at him, you have to switch up the looks when he faces up, because again, he's left-handed. He's going to go to the dominant side. So how many times or how many possessions can you give him different looks and different fronts? Whereas, okay, well, he needs to dish this thing out because they're sending a double team at him, and whoever catches on the other side, you got to be ready for your shot because you're going to have it. And I think that the more looks that you give for, I think the more that if he's not at 100%, the more he's going to have to be active. He's probably going to put it on the floor a little bit more. So I think the defensive pressure for Alabama has to be at a premium, especially for Janai Broome, because you're asking everybody else to kind of step up and do what they did against Vanderbilt yesterday. And again, Auburn has capable bodies because we're seeing it. I think that, Chamie Johnson, this could be a big time game for him. Chad Baker-Mazar for a game that he had down last night, can he turn that thing around on Saturday when he's got to be able to make those threes? So I think that for Alabama defensively, throw a lot of different looks at these guys and just make Auburn make shots, because that's where it's going to end up being, because Alabama, with the pace in which they play, the style in which they play, you're going to have to put up points.
Yeah, and I will say, if you're looking for maybe a number, I think if you're Alabama, at a minimum, you're going to want mid 80s, and obviously getting into the 90s or even triple digits, which would be very, very impressive. But Auburn, the most points they've given up in a game this year is 84 in their loss to Duke. So that kind of feels like the sweet spot if you're Alabama. If you can get this game into at least the 80s, if not start pushing it into the 90s and above, you're going to have a really good shot to win this game. But yeah, this is not the kind of game that you want to get in where Auburn defensively is just locking you up, and a 60-point kind of game. I don't think that favors Alabama very well at all. It's just if they can score quickly, you can live with it on the defensive end at times if Auburn keeps up pace with you. Because again, I don't know if Auburn can get to 100 points as easily as Alabama can. But again, I mean, asking Alabama to score 100 against Auburn, that's That's a different thing in and of itself. It may sound easy, but it's not.
Easier said than done. 205-834-9450. Up against the break. We'll continue with the conversation. Get to your text message, your calls here on Morning Jocks. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Jocks 94.5. 6:37 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well, our wonderful listeners. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls, always welcome here on Morning Jocks as we recap what we saw last night with Auburn knocking off Vanderbilt 80-68 and Alabama knocking off Texas 103-80, setting up a clash of the Titans this weekend in the first edition from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the Iron Bowl of basketball. So I asked Conrad before we started the show, I was like, is it Iron Bowl week? Just tell him what your reply was, Conrad.
Well, I'll let you know that it's been Iron Bowl week, but for, with you being a Tennessee fan, I'm not surprised that you don't know that, but.
I just know third Saturday in October.
Mm-hmm.
This guy.
Yeah, for the last, 3 years?
4.
4? Okay, 4. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short on your fandom. I apologize.
It's all good. You know me, big Josh Heupel guy, huge Josh Heupel guy, but no. We know it's Iron Bowl week. We just we had that game right there in the middle on a Tuesday night. It's like, okay, let's get this thing over with because everybody is locked in on Saturday. Are there tickets still available? Are you going?
No.
Oh.
No. I chose not to sell my kidney on the black market, so I will not be going. No. I looked the other day, and I think the cheapest ticket I saw, and I think it's gone up since then. But the cheapest ticket I saw, and this is before the fees and everything, it was like $285.
Oh, that's just to get in the door.
Oh, so if you want to go to the game at the end of the regular season, that is in Neville Arena. We looked yesterday. Standing room only tickets were starting at like $550.
It's all good
for standing room only.
It's all good. I will watch that from the comfort of my own home. It's listen, you know me, big Auburn and Alabama guy, huge Auburn and Alabama guy, but it's all good.
No, we had somebody calling on 3-Man Front the other day, and they were casually like, "Yeah, I have 8 tickets to the game this weekend."
8?
I was like, "All right, big dog, let's start spreading the love a little bit."
Yeah, can't hide money. That's one thing you can't do.
I was like, "Man, you got 8." He's like, "Yeah, I've been giving them away to people." I was like, "I'm giving them away here."
Right. Okay.
I'll be your friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it should be exciting to see this weekend with the first version of the Iron Bowl of basketball. Of course, we know the regular season finale will be in Neville Arena between Auburn and Alabama. Let's continue on the phone lines. Let's go to our resident Auburn fan right here. Wardam Don wants to talk some ball with us this morning. What's happening, Don?
Good morning, fellas. Well, we both held serve last night. And like I told you guys yesterday at Social Taco. By the way, great crowd yesterday. Good to see you yesterday, Damien. Showdown in the airport hangar there, Conrad.
Yep, just the way that we like it in Tuscaloosa, Don.
Yeah, I got Pat to look it up yesterday for me and everything, and I think the place we played in last night, Vanderbilt's gym, and then Alabama's arena. I think they're the 2 oldest arenas in the SEC. I think Pat told me that Coleman Coliseum was opened up in 1968. I know you Alabama fans, Conrad. I know about 10 years ago y'all wanted to build another arena, and I think the money wasn't right. You needed the money for NIL football, right?
Well, I know they were working on an arena, and I want to say that they thought it was something where, it was going to be, whatever, like $250 million, something like that. And then once they started to actually get into the work, they realized it was going to cost significantly more than that. And so my understanding is that they've kind of pivoted to redoing their training and practice facility because at least according to Nate Oates, it was, all right, well, every day we're in the practice facility and we're in Coleman Coliseum, 15 times a year. So that seems to be the way that that's going. But, if North Carolina comes calling here this offseason, like it looks like that may be a situation that we're looking at, then yeah, it might not be a bad idea to get that that arena renovation underway.
Well, there's rumors about Indiana going after Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, because I know that that's a place that he's held in high regard for a long time. But I look at this for Bruce Pearl. In my personal opinion, I would be shocked if he went anywhere else just because of how long he's been doing this and the situation with Steven. And I would assume he wants to hand over the reins to him when that time comes and step down and just kind of walk away. So I mean, nothing's possible, Don, but I would certainly feel better about Bruce Pearl staying at Auburn than Nate Oates staying at Alabama for the next handful of years.
Yeah. Well, right now, guys, I got it on my Game Time app about the tickets, and the cheapest ticket in the nosebleed for Saturday starts at $337.
All right, there
Oh,
we
you
go.
got
We're
it,
going
brother.
up.
So you going?
But no, actually, Damon, you were with me yesterday. Hastings invited me to go with him, and I turned it down.
Why?
Man, Hastings, invite me to go.
No, Conrad, I'm getting ready to give you a compliment here about Alabama fans. They treat me okay at football games and everything, and were cordial to me. But the 5 games I've been to see Auburn play down there, the opposite on that. I do not get treated good down there. And I just don't want to go get in no dadgum argument with anybody and have any problems and everything. And we're actually having a watch party somewhere with me and PG and the crew and everything. By the way, shout out to PG, man. That injury on his player last night did not look good at all.
Yeah, on Condon, that was not good to see.
Are you going to be booing Aiden Holloway every time he touches the ball from home?
Well, I feel sorry, Damien. I feel sorry for that kid. The jungle is going to give him hell, dude.
Well, we're talking about Saturday, though. I'm talking about you specifically. Are you going to boo him every time he touches the ball Saturday?
No. I got nothing against the kid. Okay, I thought the kid did a smart thing, and I think both sides are okay. Holloway, Pearl's not one of the guys that gives everybody green lights to shoot the ball and everything, and Oates does and everything. And I think I'll take Pettiford and Miles Kelly. I think we're fine with them.
Okay. So how you feeling about Saturday? Think Auburn gets it done?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
That changed quick.
You know what? I'm not picking against us like I did in football, okay, before I say anything. It's a toss-up, buddy, and we did win down there in 22, okay? Now, we did win with Jabari Smith and Kessler and Green, but
so y'all haven't won. So Auburn hasn't won in Coleman Coliseum since then?
Well, they got beat down. We split last year, even though Broom had a great game. I think Nelson took over the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game last year in Tuscaloosa, and then we won in Auburn. But I tell you what could happen, fellas, and a lot of people need to start thinking about that. You realize we could possibly play 4 times?
Hey.
I was about to say, play twice in the regular season, once in the SEC tournament championship, and then once in the national championship. Right?
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, the final 4, buddy, because I think we're both going to be number 1 seeds in different regions, and the SEC regular season champion more than likely will be in Atlanta's region because Atlanta hosts the regional final.
There we go.
Everything. But guys, thank y'all very much, fellas, and like I said, Damien, good to see you yesterday, brother.
Yeah, man, I think it'll be interesting to see what it looks like Saturday. I mean, he had all the confidence in Auburn. Then when I was like, "Or do you think they're gonna get it done?" He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Okay, well, that went out the window." I thought he was gonna be standing on business. Is it not Iron Bowl week?
It is Iron Bowl week.
Hey.
I guess he's just saving the excitement for his home game.
I got you.
So,
Makes sense.
I mean, that's I don't know about you, but that's kind of my expectation. I expect a split, and I would lean Alabama to win this weekend, and I would certainly lean Auburn to win when they go to Neville.
Yeah, should be fun. Should be fun to see nonetheless. 205-834-9450. We'll continue with your text message, your calls on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Jocks 94.5. 6:50 here on Morning Jocks. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order here with you for a few more moments as we get you set for McElroy and Kublik in the morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Then they pass you off the three-man front from 10 to 2. And the Paul Feinbaum Show from 2 to 6. So you want to keep it locked here on Jocks 94.5. Let's go to the text line, 205-834-9450. Get some text messages, get some reaction. Fanboy text in, will Bama see Darian Reed because they still haven't used him? He was battling through injuries and stuff.
I was about to say he's been going through injuries. I would assume not.
Right.
And even if you get him, he's going to be limited, but I would assume not.
Yeah, Young Bull takes in and says COVID raised the prices too, as far as tickets and things. So yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, just trying to get the economy back in order, back in good standing. Dwayne takes in and says, just heard somebody on SEC Now says this isn't just the first Auburn, Alabama 1 and number 2. It's the first time in the SEC that number 1 is going against number 2 ever.
That's pretty crazy. And I mean, you know, you're going to hear this a bajillion times on the broadcast. I will also say this. I did greatly appreciate ESPN for playing the kick six randomly in the middle of the Alabama basketball game last night. I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? Why? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Why am I watching this right now? So I'm glad to know that is still just randomly popping up in the middle of sporting events. So appreciate. Yeah. I
remember seeing. I was like, what does this have to do with anything? But I guess building up towards the Iron Bowl. It's just take the basketball edition.
Yeah. And I get that. I get that side of it. It was like, okay, well, thanks. At least they then played the GMAX National Championship win over Texas. I was like, all right, we're even in the playing field here a little bit. But no, I mean, this is going to be the Ryan Williams is only 17 stat of basketball, and it's going to be the fact that Alabama and Auburn have never played 1 versus 2 in football, and they're doing it in basketball before football. So, yeah, get ready to hear that one a lot. But, yeah, I was like, man, catching strays. This is the Alabama broadcast. Play that in the Auburn.
Right. It served no purpose. But I think that it's going to be I think it's going to be a great game, nonetheless. And Dave from Winfield, he said playing the kick six was definitely a WTH moment.
Yeah, it's like,
what?
It's like, cool, awesome. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
No, but I think that for both Alabama and Auburn, you got what you wanted to see during the midweek game. I guess you would quote unquote say the trap game, but they went out there and handled their business like they were supposed to. I think Alabama, again, minus the turnovers, probably the most complete game we've seen all season long, especially how hot they got from just from the field, and it felt like every shot they were putting up was going in. And then Auburn, avoiding the upset-minded Vanderbilt. Again, a scrappy team that just, they claw, they scratch, they do whatever they can to find a way to pull out a victory. But you avoided disaster there, and also got a response from Florida. Like, then that Florida game, they're going to look back and say, you know what? It happens. Florida was on. They started rolling. It was tough to kind of just, whittle at that. But I do think that you know what you got Saturday, and you know what you got the rest of the way. The same with Alabama as well. That this SEC, just this SEC as a whole, for everything I'll continue to keep talking about, for everything that we saw during football season, and everybody saying, oh, the SEC's down, or SEC, just has lost its dominance. Well, in basketball, there's no denying it. You cannot watch an SEC game and feel pretty much on the edge of your seat of like, oh my gosh, like this may happen. Look at it from last night with Kentucky knocking off Tennessee. For as inconsistent as Kentucky has been post John Calipari, they go out there and beat a top 5 team in Tennessee, and they've handled them both times that they played them. So I think that when you look at just how the SEC has performed all season long, it really does just show, hey, it ain't just a slogan, man. It just means more.
No, and you're absolutely hit the nail on the head. And you even look at, again, like a team like a South Carolina who's still winless in the league and certainly not having the kind of year that they would like to have. But that's a team that beat Clemson in non-conference play.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 10-2, something like that, coming into SEC play. And you'd beaten a Clemson team that we just saw knock off Duke on Saturday. And so it just kind of goes to show, like, even the weaker teams in the SEC going out and playing some of these non-conference matchups, you have, teams that are in the bottom, I guess, 4th of the SEC that are better than, the 2nd and 3rd best teams in a lot of other leagues. So it's been a crazy year, and this is Saturday is what we've all been waiting for, though.
Exactly.
We're almost there.
We're knocking at the door. You know who else knows about Iron Bowls? That'd be Greg and Cole. Mac and Cube in the morning. Those guys are next.